In the deep silence of space, a shadow spread across the stars. The Varkon Dominion fleet had arrived near the blue planet called Earth. Their ships were enormous, shaped like dark blades cutting through the void. Each vessel carried hundreds of alien soldiers, armed with advanced weapons and confident hearts. For centuries, the Varkon had conquered every world they found. No one had ever stopped them. High Commander Draxon, leader of the invasion, stood on the bridge of his flagship. His tall frame and cold eyes watched Earth through a massive viewing window. "A simple world," he said in a calm voice. "They still use fossil fuels, primitive energy sources, and they fight among themselves. This will be over in a single rotation." His officers nodded. They had read the reports. Humanity had no faster-than-light ships, no energy shields, and no space armies. Compared to the mighty Varkon Empire, Earth seemed like an insect waiting to be crushed. But the Varkon did not understand one thing about humans. They had never faced a species that fought with imagination, unity, and determination. On Earth, the world changed in an instant. The night skies lit up as hundreds of bright objects appeared above the atmosphere. Satellites went offline, communication networks flickered, and panic spread across the cities. Every country watched the same feed: giant alien ships entering orbit. In Washington, Beijing, and London, leaders called emergency meetings. Scientists and generals tried to make sense of the situation. "They're not asteroids," said Dr. Lena Torres, an astrophysicist. "They're ships, hundreds of them." In a military base in Nevada, General Marcus Hale watched the same images with disbelief. "We always thought we were alone," he said softly. "Guess we were wrong." Within hours, the aliens sent their message. It was broadcast across every channel, in every language, translated by advanced technology. A cold, robotic voice spoke. "People of Earth, you now belong to the Varkon Dominion. Surrender your governments, your armies, and your world. Resistance will be pointless." The world went silent. For a moment, fear ruled the hearts of billions. But fear quickly turned into something else: unity. Humans had always fought each other, but now they faced a common enemy. Old rivalries were forgotten overnight. The United Earth Defense Council was formed, joining all nations under one flag. General Hale was chosen to lead the defense. He stood before the new council. "We might not have their technology," he said, "but we have our minds, our will, and our spirit. They think we're weak. Let's prove them wrong." The Varkon fleet began their attack the next day. They fired beams of light that could melt steel in seconds. Cities trembled and the ground shook. But something strange happened. The human response was not what the Varkon expected. Instead of large ships rising to meet them, humans used stealth, intelligence, and creativity. They hid their most important systems underground. They used satellites to track every alien ship. They launched drones, missiles, and decoys. The aliens fired at empty fields, thinking they had destroyed human bases, but found nothing. Commander Draxon frowned. "They're hiding," he said. "Cowards." But one of his lieutenants, a younger officer named Kor, disagreed. "Sir, their strategy is unpredictable. Every time we strike, they move faster. Their technology is old, yet they adapt faster than we calculate." Draxon ignored him. "Prepare the landing forces. We'll crush them directly." The first Varkon troops landed near what used to be a quiet desert in Arizona. They expected no fight, but when their boots touched the ground, they were greeted by silence. Then the earth shook. From beneath the sand, a group of human soldiers emerged, wearing armor built from repurposed mining suits. They used weapons the Varkon didn't recognize: electromagnetic launchers, railguns, and drones disguised as rocks. The aliens opened fire, but the humans disappeared behind the dunes. When the smoke cleared, half the alien force was gone, destroyed by traps and explosions. Draxon watched the reports in disbelief. "How?" he shouted. "Their weapons are primitive." "They're using the terrain, sir," Kor said quietly. "They understand their world better than we do. The humans didn't fight like the Varkon. They didn't line up in open fields or rely on brute power. They fought with patience and creativity. Every forest, every city, and every mountain became a trap. Civilian engineers turned communication towers into defense grids. Farmers turned their tractors into mobile weapons. Even children helped transmit signals to confuse alien sensors. On the third day, the Varkon fleet tried to block Earth's power grid from orbit. But the humans had already switched to decentralized systems. Cities powered themselves using hidden solar fields and underground reactors. Every time the Varkon tried to shut something down, humans had already found another way to keep it running. General Hale's strategy was simple: let them underestimate us. He stood inside a hidden command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, studying alien movements. They think we're reacting, he said, but we're leading them exactly where we want. The turning point came on the 5th day. A small human ship, built secretly by scientists years before, launched into orbit. It carried a new type of device, something humans had never used in war before. A pulse generator that could disrupt alien technology. The Varkon ships detected it too late. The pulse spread like a wave across the sky. Alien engines flickered, shields collapsed, and weapons shut down. One by one, their ships began to lose control. On the Varkon flagship, alarms blared. Draxon gripped the command table. "What is happening?" "Our systems are collapsing, sir," shouted an officer. "Something is disrupting our energy matrix." "It's human technology." Draxon stared at the blue planet below, a mix of anger and disbelief on his face. "Impossible," he whispered. On Earth, the people watched as glowing lights fell from the sky. One by one, the alien ships descended in silence, no longer under control. Cheers erupted in the streets. Humans, once divided by nations, stood together as one. Dr. Lena Torres watched from her observatory, tears in her eyes. "We did it," she whispered. "We just outsmarted an empire." But General Hale remained calm. "This isn't over yet," he said. "They'll be back. And next time they'll be angry." Far above Earth, inside the crippled Varkon flagship, Commander Draxon gave his final order. "Retreat. Gather all remaining ships. This world is not as weak as it seems." As the damaged fleet limped away from Earth, Draxon looked back at the small blue planet. "We will return," he said softly. "And next time we will not underestimate them." But deep inside, even he felt something new, a quiet respect for the humans who had defied the greatest empire in the galaxy. Back on Earth, General Hale looked up at the stars. "Let them come," he said. "We'll be ready." The first invasion had ended, but humanity's story was only beginning. When the Varkon fleet left Earth's orbit, silence returned to the skies. For the first time in days, the people of Earth could see the stars without fear. Fires still burned in some cities, and debris from alien ships drifted through the atmosphere like strange meteors. But the war, at least the first battle, was over. Humanity had survived. In the ruins of Washington, groups of people gathered to rebuild. Soldiers helped citizens clear streets, doctors worked day and night, and scientists collected alien wreckage for study. There was sadness, yes, but there was also pride. The world had united, and together they had done something no one thought possible. They had defeated an empire that ruled the stars. General Marcus Hale stood on the balcony of the newly restored United Earth Council building. His uniform was covered in dust, his face tired but determined. "We stood together," he said to his officers. "And we won. But this is not the end. They will return, and when they do, we must be stronger." Dr. Lena Torres nodded beside him. She held a small datapad filled with readings from the fallen Varkon ships. "Their technology is far beyond ours," she said. "But we can learn from it. We have to." All over the planet, scientists and engineers worked day and night. Every piece of alien metal was studied. Every circuit, every weapon, every line of code was analyzed. Humanity had entered a new age, an age of reverse engineering and discovery. In a massive underground lab beneath Geneva, Dr. Torres led a team of researchers. They had recovered a broken Varkon power core from one of the crashed ships. It was small, but it contained immense energy. The scientists watched as Lena carefully connected it to human instruments. "It's like a living star trapped inside," said one of her assistants. Lena nodded. "If we can understand how it works, we could power entire cities, or maybe even build ships that can travel between stars." At the same time, military forces around the world began training a new kind of soldier. Not just warriors, but explorers and defenders. These men and women were called the Earth Vanguard. Their mission was clear: protect humanity no matter where the next threat came from. Commander Aaron Cade, one of the first Vanguard officers, stood before his recruits. He was a tall man with a calm voice and sharp eyes. "The aliens thought we were weak because we fight with emotion," he said. "But emotion is our strength. We care, we protect, we adapt. Remember that." While humanity rebuilt and prepared far away in the depths of space, The Varkon Dominion was not silent. Inside a massive station orbiting a red star, High Commander Draxon stood before the Imperial Council. The chamber was filled with tall figures in silver armor, their faces hidden behind masks. The Emperor's voice echoed through the hall. "You failed to conquer a single primitive world?" Draxon knelt. "We underestimated them, my lord. Their methods were unorthodox. Their technology was inferior, but their adaptability was beyond our predictions." The Emperor's tone was cold. "You speak as if they are equals." "No, my lord," Draxon replied quickly. "But they must not be ignored. Humanity has potential. If left alone, they will grow dangerous," the council murmured. One of the elder Varkon lords spoke. "Then we should erase them completely. Send the full armada." Draxon looked up. "If we attack again in the same way, we will fail again. They learned too fast. We must change our strategy." The Emperor was silent for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. You have one more chance. Study them. Learn their weaknesses. When we return, there will be no survivors." Draxon bowed his head. "As you command." Back on Earth, months passed. Cities grew stronger. Nations no longer competed, they cooperated. For the first time in history, humans worked as one species, not as separate countries. Factories produced new machines based on alien technology. Spaceports were being built and small ships began testing near-orbit flights. Dr. Torres's research led to something incredible. The Helion Drive, a propulsion system partially powered by Varkon energy cores. It could take a human ship beyond the moon in hours. The first test flight was prepared in secret, led by Commander Cade and a small crew. The ship, named Unity, was sleek and silver, built using both human and alien designs. As it stood on the launch pad, crowds gathered around the world to watch the broadcast. General Hale addressed them from Mission Control. "Today we take our first step into a larger galaxy," he said, "not as conquerors but as explorers and survivors. The Varkon came to destroy us. Instead, they made us stronger." The engines roared and Unity rose into the sky, leaving behind a trail of light. Cheers erupted as it broke through the atmosphere and reached space. Humanity had taken its first step into the stars. Inside the ship, Commander Cade smiled as he looked at Earth through the window. "Beautiful, isn't it?" His co-pilot, Lieutenant Naomi Rivers, nodded. "It looks peaceful from here. Hard to believe we almost lost it." Cade's face grew serious. "We didn't just survive, Naomi, we changed. And we can't go back." The Unity tested its engines near the orbit of Mars, but as it did, the crew detected something unusual. Strange energy readings far beyond the planet. "Is it debris from the war?" Naomi asked. Cade shook his head. "No, it's moving." A few moments later, a shadow appeared on the radar. Something was out there watching them. The signal was faint but real. Back on Earth, Dr. Torres received the same readings. "This can't be," she whispered. "They're already here?" General Hale ordered immediate action. "Bring Unity back. We can't risk losing our first deep space crew." But it was too late. As the Unity turned toward Earth, a pulse of energy hit their sensors. For a moment, the ship shook violently. Then the shadow disappeared. When they returned home, the data they carried was clear. The Varkon were not retreating. They were observing. At that same moment, in the far reaches of the galaxy, Draxon stood aboard his new command ship. A massive armada floated behind him, silent and waiting. "Let them rebuild," he said. "Let them think they are safe. When we return, we will strike their heart." He turned to his science officer. "How long until the bioscouts are ready?" "Soon, sir," the officer replied. "They will infiltrate their systems undetected. The humans won't even know they are being studied." Draxon nodded. "Good. This time we learn their strengths and turn them against them." Back on Earth, the United Earth Council discussed their next move. Dr. Torres spoke first. "We can't wait for them to return. We have to expand. We need bases beyond Earth, on the Moon, Mars, maybe even further." General Hale agreed. "If we stay on one planet, we'll always be a target. We must become a spacefaring civilization." The motion was approved. Construction began on the Lunar Defense Base, the first human station beyond Earth. The project united millions, engineers, miners, scientists, and soldiers, all working together for one goal: survival. Months later, when the base finally became operational, the world celebrated again, but this time there was a quiet sense of caution. People knew peace would not last forever. Commander Cade stood on the gray surface of the moon, looking down at the blue planet. "We used to fight each other," he said. "Now we fight for each other. Maybe that's what it means to be human." Dr. Torres smiled. "And maybe that's why we'll win." Far away, Draxon watched the same blue planet from his fleet. His eyes narrowed. "They believe victory is theirs," he said softly. "They do not understand yet. Every empire rises until it meets its end." The stars around his fleet glowed red as engines powered up. The second invasion had begun to move. On Earth, no one knew how soon the storm would come again. But deep inside, every human heart was ready. They had faced the impossible once, and they would face it again. Because this time humanity knew what they were fighting for. Not just survival, but their place among the stars. Months had passed since the launch of the lunar defense base. Humanity had grown stronger, more united and more curious. New ships were being built in orbit, powered by the Helion drive discovered from Varkon technology. The base on the moon was fully operational, and a second one was under construction on Mars. Humans had finally stepped beyond their home planet, and they were not planning to stop. Commander Aaron Cade stood inside the observation dome of the lunar base, looking down at Earth. The blue planet shimmered under the light of the sun, peaceful and beautiful. But Cade's mind was not at peace. He could not forget the strange energy readings near Mars during the Unity mission. Something had been there, something watching them. Lieutenant Naomi Rivers entered quietly carrying a data pad. "Sir, we received another transmission from Dr. Torres. She says the readings have returned. Same frequency, same pattern." Cade turned to her. "Are you sure it's not a reflection or an echo?" Naomi shook her head. "No, sir. It's moving this time." Cade frowned. "Then it's not a natural signal. It's them." He opened a channel to General Hale back on Earth. Within minutes, the general's face appeared on the screen, his uniform neat and his expression serious. "What have you found?" Hale asked. "Unknown signals, sir," Cade replied. "They match the energy patterns of Varkon ships, but weaker. It feels like they're hiding, scouting us." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Keep tracking them, but do not engage. We need more data. Dr. Torres is already running simulations." "Understood, sir." As the connection ended, Cade turned back toward the window. He had seen enough battles to know that silence in space was never a good sign. Something was coming. On Earth, Dr. Lena Torres worked tirelessly inside her laboratory. The alien fragments they had studied for months still contained mysteries. She compared the new signal to Varkon code patterns and found something disturbing. "They've changed their technology," she said quietly to her assistant. "It's more advanced, smarter. They're learning from us too." Her assistant looked shocked. "You mean they adapted like we did?" Lena nodded. "Exactly. They studied us during the first invasion. Now they're improving their own systems. They're not making the same mistakes." She quickly opened a communication line to General Hale. "General, you need to see this. The Varkon are evolving faster than we thought. We can't just wait for them to attack. We have to find them first." Hale listened carefully. "You're suggesting a counter-operation?" "Yes," Lena said firmly. "We have to take the fight to them before they strike again." The general hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Prepare a plan. Commander Cade and the Vanguard will lead it." A week later, the Unity 2, an upgraded version of the first Helion ship, stood ready on the lunar base launch pad. It was faster, stronger, and equipped with new stealth systems. Commander Cade, Lieutenant Rivers, and a team of scientists led by Dr. Torres herself were aboard. Their mission? Trace the strange signals and uncover the truth behind the shadows in space. "Are we ready?" Cade asked as the engines powered up. Dr. Torres smiled slightly. "As ready as humanity can be." With a deep hum, the Unity 2 lifted off and disappeared into the blackness of space. For days they traveled beyond Mars, following the faint energy trail. At first there was nothing but silence and stars. Then as they approached the asteroid belt, the sensors came alive. Naomi pointed at the screen. "There, multiple signals. Moving in formation." Cade leaned closer. "Are they ships?" "Not exactly," Dr. Torres said, studying the data. "They're smaller, like probes." The crew watched as the ship's cameras zoomed in. The objects were spherical, metallic, and glowing faintly with blue energy. "They're Varkon scouts," Cade said. "But why so many?" Before anyone could answer, one of the spheres turned toward them. "Sir, it's scanning us." Naomi shouted, "Activate counterfield," Cade ordered. The ship's defense system pulsed, creating a shield of electromagnetic energy. The Varkon probe's light dimmed for a moment, then suddenly, dozens more appeared from behind the asteroids. They were hiding, Dr. Torres whispered. The probes surrounded Unity 2, forming a ring of blue lights. Then one of them projected a beam of energy toward the ship. It wasn't an attack, it was a message. A cold voice filled the air. "Humans, you have grown, but growth brings danger. The Varkon Dominion watches." The crew stared at the transmission in silence. The voice was mechanical yet filled with strange emotion. Cade spoke calmly. "This is Commander Aaron Cade of Earth. We do not seek war. We seek peace," the voice replied. "Peace is an illusion. You will surrender or perish." And then, the probes vanished, disappearing in an instant, leaving behind a silent void. Cade exhaled slowly. "They know we're here." Dr. Torres nodded, her face pale. "They're testing us." This wasn't an attack, it was a warning. Back on Earth, General Hale received their report and immediately called a global emergency meeting. The United Earth Council gathered, every leader connected through secure channels. "They're coming back," Hale said firmly. "But this time they're smarter and more prepared. We can't rely only on defense." Dr. Torres joined the call from the Unity 2. "We need to expand faster, build more ships, more bases, more systems. If they trap us here, it's over." A voice from one of the council members said, "Do we even have enough resources?" Hale looked at him and replied, "We don't have a choice. Either we evolve or we vanish." The decision was unanimous. Earth entered what historians would later call the Great Expansion. Factories operated day and night, powered by hybrid human Varkon reactors. Shipyards grew in orbit, building fleets faster than ever before. Every scientist, engineer, and pilot worked for a single purpose: defense and survival. But even as humanity advanced, shadows moved closer. In a distant part of the galaxy, High Commander Draxon watched from his flagship as holographic projections of Earth's new fleet appeared before him. He smiled faintly. "They are preparing well," he said. "Good. The stronger they become, the more glorious our victory will be." His lieutenant corps frowned. "With respect, sir, they are no longer easy prey. Their new ships can match our speed, maybe even our weapons." Draxon looked out into space. "Power is not only in machines, core, it is in control, and they are still blind to our true weapon." He pressed a button and a new hologram appeared, images of strange dark shapes resembling living metal. "Our bioscouts are already among them," he said. "They hide in their systems, study their strategies, and wait for the signal. When the time comes, they will strike from within." On the lunar base, strange reports began to appear. Machines were malfunctioning, sensors giving false readings, drones moving without commands. At first, the engineers thought it was simple technical failure, but Dr. Torres saw the pattern. She gathered her team. "These aren't random malfunctions," she said. "They're coordinated. Something is inside our systems." Naomi looked worried. "You mean sabotage?" "Worse," Lena said. "Infiltration." They traced the signal back through the network, following it to a storage unit deep inside the base. When they opened the chamber, they found a small metallic sphere pulsing faintly with blue light, the same type as the probes from the asteroid belt. "It's been here all along," Naomi whispered. The sphere suddenly activated, releasing a burst of energy that shut down every light in the room. For a moment, everything was dark. Then it stopped, silent again. Dr. Torres looked at Cade. "They're not just coming. They're already here." Back on Earth, Hale received the report and immediately ordered all systems to lock down. "No signal leaves or enters without verification," he said. "We can't let them learn any more." But deep down, he knew the truth. The Varkon already knew too much. That night, as the Earth rotated quietly under the stars, every human base and station went on high alert. Pilots waited in their ships. Engineers stood by their systems. The world that once feared war was now ready for it. Commander Cade stood beside Dr. Torres in the Lunar Command Center. Outside the glass window, Earth looked peaceful, glowing like a jewel in the darkness. "They'll come soon," Cade said quietly. Lena nodded. "Yes, but this time we're not the same people they met before." Cade smiled faintly. "No, this time they'll see what humanity really is." Far away, unseen by any human eye, the Varkon fleet began to move again, larger, stronger, and determined. The war for the galaxy was about to begin. Darkness covered the side of Earth that faced away from the sun. The cities glowed like tiny constellations against the black ocean, peaceful and unaware of what was coming. High above the planet, in the silence of space, something enormous moved. The Varkon fleet had returned. It began quietly. No explosions, no warnings, just a flicker on long-range sensors. The first radar contact appeared near Jupiter, then another, then hundreds more. The lunar base picked up the signals almost at once. Lieutenant Naomi Rivers ran into the command center. "Commander Cade, we have multiple objects approaching from the outer system. Speed 10 times faster than before. They're not asteroids. It's them." Commander Aaron Cade looked up from the console, his face calm but his eyes sharp. "How many?" "Hundreds, sir. Maybe thousands." Cade turned to his crew. "Alert Earth Command. Raise all shields and prepare evacuation protocols for civilians. We're about to face round 2. The alarms echoed through the lunar base. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists all moved with purpose. They had trained for this moment. Humanity was ready, but no one knew if it would be enough. On Earth, General Marcus Hale stood in the United Earth Defense Center, surrounded by screens showing every part of the planet. Reports came in from the Moon, Mars, and orbital stations. "They're faster and larger than before," said one officer. "Their main fleet will reach Mars in less than 6 hours." General Hale nodded slowly. "Then we meet them there. We hold the line before they reach Earth." He opened a secure line to Commander Cade. "Aaron, you'll lead the first defense from the Moon. Dr. Torres will coordinate with you. We can't let them break through the outer perimeter." "Yes, sir," Cade replied. "We'll hold." Meanwhile, Dr. Lena Torres was already deep inside the Lunar Science Lab working on a countermeasure. She had been studying the captured Varkon probe for weeks. It contained information about how the aliens communicated with each other, a network far more complex than human systems. If she could find a way to disrupt it, even briefly, it might give humanity the advantage they needed. Her assistant, Kim, looked nervous. "Are you sure this will work?" Lena didn't look up. "No. But if we don't try, nothing else will matter." She typed quickly, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Data streamed down the screen, patterns, waves, and signals. Slowly, she began to find weaknesses. "Got it," she whispered. "They use a shared resonance field to link their ships. If we can send the right pulse frequency, it might break their coordination for a few minutes." Kim's eyes widened. "A few minutes might be enough for our fleet to strike." Lena nodded. "Exactly. Tell General Hale I'm uploading the plans now." As the Varkon fleet passed Jupiter, the human defense forces assembled. From the Moon, from Mars, and from orbiting platforms, hundreds of human ships moved into formation. They were smaller than the Varkon vessels, but fast and agile. Each one was equipped with newly developed pulse cannons and reflective shields based on alien tech. The first battle began near Mars. The red planet glowed in the distance as streaks of light crossed space, energy beams, missiles, and flares. Human ships darted between asteroids, firing from behind cover. The Varkon ships advanced in perfect formation, their movements cold and precise. "Target their lead ships," shouted Cade over the comms. "Break their lines." Dozens of human fighters launched synchronized attacks. Explosions lit up the void, but the Varkon responded quickly. Their massive cannons fired beams that melted asteroids like ice. Several human ships were destroyed in seconds. Still, humanity fought back fiercely. Every pilot, every soldier, every engineer knew that if they failed here, Earth would fall next. Dr. Torres watched the battle unfold from her console on the Moon. "We need more time," she said to herself. "Just a little more." Finally, her system flashed green. The pulse program was ready. "Commander Cade, this is Dr. Torres," she said over the comms. "I'm sending the disruption pulse through our satellite network. You'll have about 4 minutes of interference in their systems." "Copy that," Cade replied. "We'll make it count." Lena pressed the button. A silent wave of energy spread across space, invisible to the human eye. When it reached the Varkon fleet, chaos followed. Their formations broke apart as their communication links went down. Ships turned in confusion, some colliding with each other. For the first time, the Varkon acted like individuals rather than a unified army. "Now," Cade shouted. "All units, attack!" Human ships surged forward. Missiles streaked through the chaos, hitting targets with precision. Explosions filled the dark void around Mars. One by one, the Varkon ships began to fall. For 4 minutes, humanity dominated the battle. Cheers filled the command centers across the moon and Earth. But then, the pulse faded. The Varkon systems rebooted, and their fleet reorganized instantly. Their leader, High Commander Draxon, stood on the bridge of his flagship, eyes burning with fury. "So," he said slowly, "they've learned to strike the mind instead of the body. Impressive, but not enough." He raised his hand. "Activate the core destroyers." From the back of the fleet, massive new ships emerged, each the size of a small moon. Their cores pulsed with dark energy, glowing red like molten stars. On the lunar base, alarms screamed. "New energy readings," shouted Naomi. "Sir, they're preparing a weapon. We've never seen power like this." Cade's voice grew hard. "All ships fall back to the moon's defense line. We can't take that head on." The core destroyers charged their weapons, and a beam of energy shot toward the human fleet. It passed through space silently, then struck. The shockwave destroyed several ships instantly, and sent debris spinning across the stars. Dr. Torres watched the data stream. "That weapon's power is off the charts," she said. "It's like they're drawing energy directly from a star." General Hale's voice came through the speakers. "Then we find a way to shut it down." The next hours were chaos. Human fleets retreated toward the moon, protecting Earth at all costs. The Varkon fleet advanced relentlessly. But humans didn't give up. On the moon, engineers reconfigured pulse cannons into planetary defense arrays. On Earth, scientists worked around the clock to improve the signal disruptor. Humanity had been pushed back before, but never broken. Inside her lab, Dr. Torres made a discovery. "Their core destroyers use a gravitational link to focus energy," she said. "If we overload that field, it could collapse the weapon." She sent the data to Commander Cade. "You'll need to fly close inside the energy ring and trigger it manually." "It's dangerous, but it's the only way." Cade smiled faintly. "Dangerous is what we do best." Naomi looked at him. "You're not going alone." Together, they boarded a small ship equipped with a new prototype engine. As the battle raged around them, they flew straight toward the core destroyer. Alarms blared as the massive alien cannon prepared to fire again. Cade pushed the engines to maximum, weaving between beams of energy. The ship shook, but they pressed on. "Almost there," Naomi shouted. They reached the center of the energy ring, glowing with swirling red light. Cade activated the overload device and shouted, "Now, Lena!" Back on the moon, Dr. Torres sent the activation code. The device triggered. A brilliant flash of light filled the void, followed by a shockwave that spread for thousands of kilometers. The core destroyer imploded, collapsing in on itself like a dying star. Cheers erupted across every human station. "They did it," someone shouted. "The core destroyer is gone." But the celebration was short-lived. Naomi's voice came through the radio, weak but calm. "We're hit. Systems failing." "Cade, respond!" Hale shouted, static. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then slowly, a small signal appeared on the radar. An escape pod drifting toward the moon. Dr. Torres exhaled with relief. "They're alive." The battle continued through the night. Without their main weapon, the Varkon fleet began to pull back. Humanity had survived again, but the cost was high. General Hale looked out the window at the stars. "They'll retreat, but not forever," he said quietly. "They'll come again." Dr. Torres stood beside him. "Then we'll be ready again." Far away in the darkness of space, the remaining Varkon ships gathered around Draxon's flagship. He stared at the hologram of Earth, his face unreadable. "They learn faster than we expected," he said, "but we are not finished. If strength cannot defeat them, then perhaps something else will." He turned to his officers. "Prepare the next phase." As the Varkon fleet vanished into the shadows once more, humanity celebrated its second victory. But deep down, everyone knew the war was far from over. The real test was yet to come. The galaxy was vast, dark, and quiet. For weeks after the second invasion, humans watched the stars carefully. They had survived twice against the Varkon Dominion, and their spirit had grown stronger. Humanity had changed, not just in technology, but in courage and unity. Every nation, every city, and every person knew that the coming days would test them again. But this time, they were ready. Commander Aaron Cade stood on the observation deck of the lunar base, looking out at the stars. Ships of all sizes floated in orbit, forming a network of defense unlike anything humans had ever built. He felt a deep sense of pride. "We've come a long way," he said quietly to Lieutenant Naomi Rivers, who stood beside him. Naomi nodded. Yes, and we've learned a lot from them. They think they can scare us, but they've only made us stronger. Below them, engineers and soldiers prepared the moon for the coming battle. Energy shields hummed across the surface, turrets aimed at the sky, and the newly built Helion ships were ready to launch at a moment's notice. On Earth, General Marcus Hale oversaw the coordination of the global fleet. Communication stretched across every continent, connecting ships, bases, and planetary defenses. Humanity's strategy was clear. They would not wait for the Varkon to strike. They would take the fight to them. Dr. Lena Torres studied the data from the last encounter. She had refined the pulse disruptor, making it faster, stronger, and capable of affecting multiple Varkon ships at once. This time, she said, we don't just defend. We attack their fleet before they reach Earth. Far away, High Commander Draxon watched Earth from his flagship, which hovered silently near the outer edge of the solar system. His fleet was rebuilt, stronger and faster than before. Core destroyers had been replaced, and his scouts had mapped every human base they could find. They are growing bold, Core, his science officer, said. They even attack our scouts now. Draxon's eyes glimmered. Yes, they are bold, but they are still humans. Their strength is their spirit, and that is exactly what we will test. He pressed a control panel, sending coordinates to the fleet. Advance toward Earth. Let them come to understand the weight of an empire. The first engagement of the third invasion began near Saturn's orbit. The human fleet, led by Commander Cade aboard Unity 2, met the Varkon head-on. Energy beams flashed across the void as ships maneuvered with incredible speed. The humans had learned from their previous encounters. Instead of trying to overpower the Varkon, they used the terrain of space itself, asteroids, gas clouds, and planetary shadows, to hide their movements and launch surprise attacks. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver designed to confuse and outsmart the enemy. Target the flank, Cade shouted. Naomi, deploy the pulse disruptors. The devices activated, sending a wave of energy toward the nearest Varkon vessels. The lights of the enemy ships flickered. Engines sputtered. Systems went offline. For the first time, the Varkon ships were disorganized before the humans even reached them. Dr. Torres, aboard a command vessel near the moon, monitored the results. It's working, she said. Their formation is collapsing. Draxon, observing the battle from his flagship, frowned. They are clever, he said, but they are still outmatched. Activate the new fleet. From the shadow of the main armada, enormous ships emerged, unlike any humans had seen before. They pulsed with energy, almost alive, and moved with terrifying precision. Cade studied them carefully. These are stronger than before, he muttered. But we've beaten the impossible once. We can do it again, he signaled the fleet. Stick to the plan. Hit them with everything we've got. And remember, don't panic. The humans attacked with unmatched coordination. Ships darted between asteroids, flanking the enemy, while pulse disruptors targeted the largest Varkon vessels. The enemy staggered under the unexpected strategies. In the midst of the chaos, the humans discovered another advantage. The Varkon fleet relied heavily on centralized control. The larger the fleet, the slower their response to changes. Humans exploited this perfectly, isolating sections of the enemy fleet and defeating them piece by piece. Back on the moon, Dr. Torres prepared the final phase of her plan. The new disruptor pulse had enough power to reach the Varkon flagship itself. If it worked, the largest ship would shut down completely, sending a ripple through the enemy fleet. Cade, she said over the comms. This is it. If you can get close enough, I can send the pulse to disable the flagship. He nodded. We'll get there. Naomi, take the rear coordinates. We can't be detected until we're in range. The Unity 2 and a squadron of fast human fighters moved like shadows, weaving through the battlefield with precision. The Varkon were caught off guard. Their massive ships fired relentlessly, but the human ships were too nimble. Almost there, Cade said, gripping the controls. Dr. Torres, send the pulse. A wave of energy shot from the moon-based array straight toward the flagship. The ship shuddered violently. Systems went offline. Red lights flickered. The massive vessel drifted powerless at the center of the enemy fleet. The Varkon ships faltered. Without their leader, their coordination broke completely. Humans struck quickly, disabling smaller ships and capturing data from the enemy fleet. Draxon's voice came through his comms, calm but cold. You have won this battle, humans. But do not think this is the end. The Varkon dominion spans the galaxy. One planet will not stop us. Cade's voice was steady. Perhaps not. But today humanity has proven something. You underestimated us once, and you will not again. Back on Earth, the news spread across every continent. Humanity had not only defended its home, but had crippled the Varkon fleet in the outer solar system. People celebrated, but more importantly, they were inspired. Children in schools drew pictures of ships and stars. Scientists in labs tested new ideas. Engineers built larger, faster, and more efficient spacecraft. Every human being realized that they were part of something bigger, a species capable of surviving against impossible odds. High Commander Draxon, aboard his crippled flagship, watched the humans celebrate. For the first time, he felt something unfamiliar: respect. They fight differently than any species I have encountered, he said quietly to Kor. They are unpredictable. They are alive in ways we cannot control. Kor nodded. Sir, they may be the most dangerous species we have ever faced. Draxon turned away from the view screen, his expression unreadable. Dangerous, yes, but that is what makes them memorable. Let them grow. One day perhaps they will reach the stars fully, and when that happens, we may no longer be the rulers of the galaxy. On the moon, Commander Cade and Dr. Torres looked at the calm Earth below. The battle was over for now. We've survived, Naomi said softly. Yes, Cade replied, and we've learned. The Varkon will come again, but we're ready. Humanity is ready. Dr. Torres smiled. This is only the beginning. One day humans will explore every star, meet new civilizations, and shape the galaxy not by fear, but by courage, intelligence, and unity. Cade looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of hope unlike anything he had ever known. Then let them come, he said quietly. We will be waiting. The stars above glimmered, silent witnesses to the triumph of humanity. A species that had been underestimated, mocked, and threatened had risen to a level no one had predicted. Against the odds, humans had survived, grown stronger, and shown the universe what it truly meant to be unstoppable. And in the hearts of every human, from Earth to the moon, Mars and beyond, the same thought burned brightly. Humanity would not only survive, humanity would thrive, because humans, with all their creativity, courage, and spirit, were a force the galaxy had never seen before. And the Varkon had learned the hard way that Earth was not just another world to conquer. The story of the first great interstellar war had ended. The legend of humanity's strength was only beginning.